Well, I'm out here at our little piece of ground and I've got some fence to fix. I've got a steer that is coming on close to 2.5, 3 years old, and I'm having quite a struggle keeping him home when we have neighbor cows right across the fence. He is respectful of a 5-strand fence, but he's not very respectful of a 4-strand fence. So there's been some old fence in here that was initially put in as 4-strand, and he has a tendency just to push his way through. He doesn't always break the strands, he just connives his way through. So I think he's home right now. He's not around the buildings here, but I've got another stretch, maybe 1/8 of a mile, that what I'm doing is I'm taking the 4-strand fence and I'm bringing it up to the top 4 strands of a 5-strand fence position. He's not going to go underneath. That's where generally that 5th strand is good for stopping calves. But I need to bring it up. Now I've got most of it done except this one stretch, and he's already gone through it once. I'm going to try to go stop that. I've got a bucket here that I use as my fence and tool bucket. I use a Farrier's hammer, just like the one I use in the shop. I put a new handle in this, but it's the exact same head. That's my staple hammer, and then regular fencing pliers, and I have another pair of pliers that I use here as well. We've got some new fence clips, some old barbed wire. Who knows what you need once you get out there. And somebody dropped off this whole package of new staples, which is nice. And you always need a staple here or there. So I'm going to throw some of those in on my mix. I got my fence stretcher. Normally I carry it back here. We'll see how it goes. Sometimes I carry a rifle back in this section here. I might just carry my fence stretcher right there if it'll fit. I'm not sure if it will or not. Maybe like so. Yeah, I don't know if that'll work or not. We'll try it like so. Of course, my water jug. And I have come to appreciate this style of fence repair. It's these fence splicers that you can just put 2 strands of wire through and then you crimp it down, and that's what I have built these for. They're an old pair of bolt cutters that I have redesigned just for these. So I use these called wire splices. I've used these for years and years. I'll take some of those along. It just kind of keeps everything pretty much contained. We're not too rough a country going into. But we'll go out and see if we can fix some fence. Still got to be pretty cautious on going out and driving through some of this tall, dry grass, but I think we'll be okay. We're pretty damp on the ground this morning. We'll fix some fence. Not too sure how this camera stuff will work. Hopefully it's not super wiggly or make you seasick. Mowed a lot of this sagebrush down 3 years ago, and it's got a little regrowth starting. So this is our north line fence, and I rebuilt this whole stretch here in a 5-strand wire 3 years ago. But this east line is what is not so good. So I generally put the top wire about pin bone height right at my hip here. So this is a little bit low on me, but then see, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, that's a 4-strand position. But if you build a 5-strand fence, you put your top wire, like I say, I put it right here. Then you go every 4 knobs on a T-post. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one needs to be brought up 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. This one will be brought up 2, and consequently 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's on a 4, so this will be brought up 2. So it closes the gaps here to where this steer is less likely to be able to just worm his way through this fence. It's just a time-consuming process of releasing the clip, bringing it up a strand, and refastening that clip. And if these clips are put on correctly, it's not a hard thing to do at all. But whoever built this fence initially, I've repaired this stretch right here. There's only 4 posts in here. And so I put clips on, as I think is correctly, 1, 2, 3, 4, so right there. And I'll bring the camera in so you can see that. May not be of interest to some of you, I don't know. But there's a way to put these clips on, and it doesn't make this a difficult thing to do. It's just bringing them up into a closer position. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is building the top 4 positions of a 5-strand fence with only 4 wires. And then if you had young calves, they have a tendency to want to crawl underneath, so then you put the 5th strand down here. These overall are a little lower than I would like, but that's the essence of what I'm doing. I'm putting 4 strands into a 5-strand position. So in this case, the top wire clip has been removed. So here I'm going to put it up a little higher. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll put it right here. And these clips have a unique design to them, but they're designed this way for a purpose. One is easily clips around the wire here. With your fencing pliers, just a quick pull around and you can crimp this. Some guys will hammer them down. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So these 4 are in a 5-strand position already. This just needed a new clip. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one needs to come up 1. One, 2, 3, 4. Up 1. One, 2, 3, 4. These all just need to come up 1. Oh, this top one is a little looser than I would like. I'm going to snug it up. I could maybe snug these up a little bit, but this top one especially, it would help. And on these railroad tie ends that their corner braces are built out of, they're usually stapled. I've got a staple right here. Here you see this is where it was wrapped initially. We're going to take almost 1.5 inches here. How much slack was in this line. Got this loose here. Missing a staple here. I don't like to crump them in too tight, break that wire. Still allows it to move. Reset our other staple here. Well, I can see this cross brace is getting a little rotted. I'm going to eventually have to replace that, give some more strength to this brace here. So this is my east fence. You can see how loose it is, because he has just walked through here, just pushed his way. That's just who he is. You know, this calf, when he was, you know, fairly young, the folks that had him had never castrated before, and so they put bands on him, and there's nothing wrong with bands. Bands work fine. But they only caught one testicle, so he has one testicle up inside his body cavity, so therefore he thinks he is still a bull. So when the neighbors come on this side of the fence, he thinks he ought to be over there, and so he just separates this and says, "Thank you very much, I think I'll come a-courting." So it gets pretty loose. So if I can bring this up to a 5-strand position instead of them being this far, and they're this close together, he's less likely to crawl through. In fact, the other sections that I have done this to, he respects those. They can be right across the fence and he stays where he's supposed to be. But this stretch here to the top of that hill and up a little further, you remember a year or spring ago, somewhere in there, I rebuilt the fence on our little hay meadow up on top. Well, that's up on top there. So I need to do this whole line up this knoll, and then it dips and goes back up again to where it finally gets up on top. And this is the last section that actually borders us and the neighbors, and has been the biggest challenge to keep him home. Because he has this one testicle left, he is more like a bull, and he's growing up to be like a bull physically. And he knows if I just push hard enough, something's going to give, and he's learned that. So I'm going to work on this stretch of fence. Now, I'm not sure if I can adequately display this. This is the style of a new clip I was telling you about. It's designed to go around the T-post, hook one side. This side goes around and you can catch it with your fencing pliers and a very simple grab it right there, pull it around, and it makes a very nice clip, and you can easily open it up and fix it if you have to stretch wire or whatever. Whoever built this fence didn't understand that principle, and they take this end that's supposed to be just bent around in one position. They take that, or have taken that, and completely wrap it around. So it's a real pain to move that. So if I was to reposition this, so you have to remake this to what it used to be, what its design was. Something like so. Hook that side. And that's how they're supposed to be. And you can easily come back, open it up, move it, whatever. But when they do this, it becomes kind of an inconvenience. How easy that is to open up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rehook that. Pull it in position and you're good to go. And the more you have to open up and bend and all that kind of stuff, the more likely these are to break after you do this a time or two. Well, it's kind of a nuisance to redesign these when they were designed correctly in the first place. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how it should be. Oh, I need to bring my fencing supplies along with me. So in a 4 or 5 strand, you know, you want this bottom wire here, mainly because it deals with calves crawling the fence. But when I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, when I'm dealing with 1,400 pound knucklehead, he's not going to go under the fence, he wants to go through the fence. So I need to kind of deter that activity and mindset. If I were to be in a spot where calves were an issue, then I would come in and put this 5th strand here. But right now, this seems to work well, a 4 strand, but in the top 4 strands of a 5 strand spacing. So it's, in essence, for him, it's a 5 strand fence. So I've picked these up into 4 strand, but these two are really loose down here. This one is the worst, and I think this is probably where he crawled through. When they're in that 4 strand position, they're so wide and he can just push it apart. Well, I'm a long ways from that corner brace and a long ways from a brace up on the top. So this is where I really like those splices that I was talking about earlier. So if I just suck this up with this fence stretcher, see, I can snug that up, but if I cut that, there won't be enough to make a splice. I only got about 1.25 inch overlap. So I would either have to bring in another piece of wire, and then I would have 2 splices instead of 1. But here I can put this splice in, so we have wire sticking out on both ends. And I'm just going to crimp that together. And if there's enough, bend those back on itself. Tighten that up, and that's a pretty solid splice. I initially used these on really old wire that's rusty and can't be bent anymore, but when you're in the middle of a section and you can't get to an end brace, that's where I like those. Up over the top, I could work on that a little bit later. I've got this pretty well. He's less apt to go across the fence on a steep hill. They generally come down here where it's a little flatter. So I got all this buttoned up. Top 4 strands of a 5 strand fence. Supposed to rain tomorrow, so I probably won't come out and finish it. I've got some work up on top I can maybe take you up on top and show you that. I'll go up the hill here. You see to the west we've got some clouds coming in. Supposed to be some rain coming in tomorrow. So hopefully it don't make you too seasick going up the hill here. So this is the top of the hill. We were just at the bottom. So these are the cows of the neighbors to the east of us, and they are the ones that cause such the discontent of that knothead. So on the top here, I have 3 posts, maybe 4 that I need to pick up and condense. From there on to the end of our hay pasture, I've already done that. So we're getting pretty close here. You notice this top wire is really high. So I'm actually dropping the top wire 1 notch. It's still above my hip. And then I'm bringing the 2 bottom ones up into that 5 wire position. Closing the gap. Not quite so easy to crawl through. And are we in the nick of time or what? Here comes that redhead. Gonna come check out our fence. Yeah, I'm talking to you, huh? You gonna have a respect for a little tighter fence this time, huh? He's coming to check it out. See him right down there? Bellering for his buddies. They're all up on top. If they've been down there on the bottom, that really antagonizes his head. You see our black cow coming in here behind him. Right over here. Well, hopefully tightening that fence up will discourage that wandering. He has a big case of the wanderlust. Well, we'll see if it works. Nice to be out. Hope you enjoyed as well. Appreciate you coming along. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming along.